Welcome back to Using Performance Monitor. As you can see, we're continuing on with the demonstration from the last video. When we create a new data collector set, we first give it a name. The name can be anything we'd like. We can either start from a template, or we can create one manually. Let's go ahead and select manually. When we click Next, we're asked what kind of information we want to collect. In this case, we want performance counter information. We can then select the performance counters we want to use. As you can see, this window is exactly the same from when we were setting up the live feed. Let's go ahead and collect the same information. We're going to collect the seconds per read and seconds per write for the C and the D drive. You can select as many counters as you want from within this window. However, the more counters you collect, the larger the file is going to be that's created. We'll then select the entire buffer manager pool. That'll select all the counters and make them all available to us within our configuration. Click OK, and we can select how often we want to sample to get these values. The more often we sample, the more accurate things are going to be. The less often we sample, the smaller the file is going to be. We can sample based on the number of seconds, minutes, hours, days, or weeks that have passed. Typically, you're going to want to monitor based on some interval of seconds. 15 is usually okay, but if you're looking for very small peaks and valleys, you may need to make this interval sampling smaller. In this case, let's go ahead and select 1 second, just so we can get more information into the report. Click Next, and it asks you where you want to save it. By default, it's going to save them in C, perflogs, admin, sample. You can change this folder to anywhere the system account has access to save to. Click Next. You can select the Run As account if you need to change the permissions. We're going to save and close this. This is now saved, but it is not active. It needs to be turned on in order to start it. We do this by right-clicking on the collector set and clicking Start. You can now see the full path of the files that are being collected. This data is being collected every second, so we're getting a decent amount of information collected very quickly. Once these files are full at a few hundred megs, it'll roll over and then use a new file name. If we expand this out, we can see the full file name is datacollector01.blg. Once the file is full, it'll then use datacollector02, 03, 04, 05, and so on until it's completely full. Performance Monitor will continue collecting data until such time as the hard drive fills. You would then need to delete some files and restart the data collector if necessary. Let's go ahead and stop this by right-clicking on it and clicking Stop. We can then view this information by simply opening a Performance Monitor and clicking the View Log Data button. Change from current activity to log files, click the Add button, and select the path to our sample data collection. Select the data file we want to use. If necessary, select multiple files. If we had saved this information into a database table, we can select a database table instead and select the system DSN and the logs that we wish to use. We can select the time range button if we want to filter the amount of information that's available to our graph. Click OK. If we click back to the real-time view, we'll see all the historical information that's been captured. We can change the amount of data being shown by simply clicking on the slide bar here, and then clicking the plus sign that's this zoom icon. This allows us to zoom in and highlight specific information that we want to use, and we get a much more detailed view of it, depending on how much data we've captured. Older versions of this tool only support the line histogram and report. Newer versions, such as the one shown here in Windows Server 2012 and Windows 8, include an area report, as well as a stacked area report. They give you different ways to visualize this information. Which report you use isn't really the important part. It's finding the report that works the best for you for viewing the information that you want to see. In summary, these metrics can be accessed either locally or remotely, depending on what you need to get done. When accessing this data, you do not need to have administrative rights to the server. So if you're working in an environment where database administrators do not have local OS admin rights, that's okay. You can still get access to this information. All you need to do is have the administrators add you into the performance monitoring group within the Windows operating system. This group exists within all servers and workgroups, and allows you to access the Performance Monitor data either locally or remotely, depending on if you have permissions to log on to the local server. This shows many more metrics than SQL Server can see when querying within the dynamic management view within SQL Server. So it's always a good idea to look at the OS level because you're going to get a lot more information. Things like disk information and CPU information are not going to be available within the dynamic management views. They're only available within the Performance Monitor application.